Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Major Conversations, a high schooler's guide to college. In this episode, I'm going to be joined by Preisha Agarwal, a first-year student at the HAAS School of Business at UC Berkeley. Preisha is majoring in business administration with a concentration in global management. I hope you find her high school journey insightful and gain some valuable advice from it. Hi Preisha, how's it going?
Hi, it's going good. How have you been, Senna?
I'm good. So I'm really excited to have you on my podcast today, especially since high school was like pretty like nearby for you. So do you want to
Mhm.
start off by just introducing yourself and talking about like what major you're taking and where you went to high school?
Yes. So, hi everyone. My name is Preisha. I graduated high school last year, and so I'm currently a freshman studying at UC Berkeley. I'm studying business administration with a concentration in global management through the UC Berkeley HAAS School of Business. And yeah, so I'm super excited to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, okay. So I think one question, like just to start off, is like what really got you interested in choosing this as your major? Like, especially in like high school, did you always know you wanted to go into business and especially like specifically like business administrations and global management?
Yeah, so for me, I did kind of just start out knowing that I want to do something within the realm of business, just because in middle school I participated in like public speaking competitions, and I've always kind of been like a creative person. So I had my sights kind of set on doing something related to marketing or like UI, UX even within business. So what I did in high school was kind of start out by taking some like business electives as a freshman and as a sophomore. That kind of got me more excited about like things like finance and marketing, accounting, consulting, all those things. And so that was an avenue that I did explore throughout like the 4 years of high school, but I know a lot of my peers kind of didn't develop that specific interest until later, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, those classes were like just so super fun to me. And I realized like with public speaking, like there comes like a certain skill set that is used a lot in the business world. So I thought like not only was it something that I was passionate about, but also something that I felt that I would fit well into.
Yeah.
And so yeah, then I just like began exploring that kind of more deeply as a junior and senior with like internships.
Okay, perfect. So like I kind of know what you mean because like me like myself like I know I'm not a science person and I'm like a junior in high school and I've always like preferred my history and like language art classes over like that. So I know like that's like where my interest is heading, but I feel like my main struggle is like choosing that specific major and I feel like a lot of people have that struggle. So like you are always interested in like business and you told me like you took like marketing and accounting. So like are there courses that you think that like you wish you took that like might be useful for someone who wants to take business or like courses that you think really helped like choose your like specific like major? Because yeah.
Mhm. I think, I mean, obviously it depends on your school and like what they offer, but I think if you're thinking about going down business as an avenue, I would really like recommend probably taking as advanced math courses as you can get. Obviously a big part of like business is finance and like analyzing revenue streams and costs and all those things. So that kind of relies on just having like good math skills. So I think just in general, like you need to be somewhat math savvy or like at least like it to an extent. So like just take whatever's offered at your school in that sense. And then if you like that and want to explore the field more qualitatively, I think a lot of schools have things like marketing and entrepreneurship classes or like intro to business or like how business operates in the 21st century in like elective formats. And so obviously like that was something that I did as well. And I think like just seeing kind of what opportunities your school has regards to that
Yeah.
is what I would recommend in terms of coursework.
What was your favorite class that you took? Like,
I'd say, okay, I did enjoy like calculus a lot, which is like like really weird because I know a lot of people don't enjoy it, but I was someone who really enjoyed taking like AP Calc and AP Stats. And obviously like those are very like transferable skills. And if you're applying to business schools, a lot of those times like taking those courses, if you get like a good score, you can get out of taking certain coursework in college. which happened to me as well. And obviously that's like a big benefit because coming into college with your bunch of credits is helpful if you want to graduate early or if you want to do a double major even. I'm still like, I know I said business, but I'm still like exploring other avenues as well, like potential double majors in like French or like data science, which are like pretty different. So like even though like I think like math and like econ are also good majors if you want to get into business, but you don't want to do business administration. But for me, I kind of liked that like wide umbrella that business administration offers because I was thinking about potentially doing like an additional focus in something like data science, which would give me that like kind of technical skill that people look for as like math and econ majors who then use that degree instead to enter like the world of finance or marketing or something like that.
Yeah.
So
So
there,
like,
you don't just need to study business in order to like get a job in the like
yeah.
professional industry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. So like does that mean you also took like other classes? Like for example, like obviously like a lot of counselors have told me like, oh, like you should have like a balanced schedule, like no matter what you're taking, like you should have like 4 years of science or like at least try to. So like especially like for example, if I wanted to take like political science as my major, like should I be taking something as like AP biology? Like is that like should I have that type of balanced schedule and challenge myself in those classes?
I think first and foremost, you just want to see what you're interested in. So like you can be dead set on a like poly econ major, but still be so fascinated by AP Bio that you want to take that class, and that'll help you get that balance and actually like enjoy your subjects. Because like first and foremost, that matters because if you enjoy your subjects, you're gonna get good grades. You're gonna be able to curate your passion and like really, like you said, like decide on what you want to do in college. So if you like a subject, even if it's like unrelated to what you think you're going to do in college, I say go for it, like take it. But there are always ways that you can curate kind of your interests and like still take, whatever is required, like 4 years of science or 4 years of math, but curate it to your major. So for example, for me, I knew that I wanted to do business. So when it came to selecting science courses, instead of taking AP Bio or AP Chem, I took physics instead because physics is a math-based
Mm,
science subject or like within AP. So I would be able to kind of show colleges that, I have strong math skills. And then at the same time, again, I enjoyed math, I enjoyed calculus. So I took like AP Physics C my senior year, even though all of the other kids were like engineering, STEM kids, and I was like the only business major, and everyone was like, why are you taking this class? But the thing for me was like I wasn't good at like the memorization required for bio or chem, and I loved math, but I still needed to take a science. So then I was like, okay, let me choose physics. So you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like you can always kind of curate your like course load according to both what you like and potentially what you think might look good for whatever major you're applying into.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like that's something I also was struggling with like as like I'm a junior in high school. So like this was like the time like I was choosing my classes and like one decision that I made was like I decided not to take like 4 years of science because I like am more into humanities, but I am choosing to take like AP Stat and like AP Calc still just because I want to like it's something that I want to learn more about and like I'm interested in. So
Mhm.
I feel like that main thing, like academics, is something that all like everyone's like highlighting. Like the main thing on your application is obviously like academics and like sometimes even like standardized tests. So like do you think like especially with standardized tests because so many schools are like now test optional and like do you think they matter like standardized tests and like how much do academics in general matter?
I mean, okay, so like I don't know because like I'm not an admissions counselor. I have no clue how I got into like the schools that I
Yeah.
got into, but I will say that like standardized tests can only get you so far. I did have a good score in my SAT, but a lot of the schools that I submitted that score to didn't accept me, whereas UC Berkeley, the institution where I currently go, is test blind completely, which means that they didn't look at my SAT score, and obviously I got admitted. So it's really, really like subjective and kind of hard to tell. So I don't know how much insight I can give on that, but I think a good way to go about it is just to take the test and see how you do. Like, obviously, try to aim for improvement. If it's within like your financial budget, your time budget, then take it a few times and try to get the best score that you can. But it's absolutely not the end of the world. I do think essays or like there's like something qualitative that comes out in applications to admissions counselors that no one can really gauge. And it's just like kind of like a magic trick almost, and like it depends on luck and like a lot of different factors. So if you have the score, like absolutely submit it and it's not going to hurt your application. But I really, really don't think it's the end of the world. Like again, the school that I'm going to didn't even look at my test scores. So I know for a fact that it didn't play into my admissions decision.
Yeah, but I mean, like extracurricular, going into extracurriculars, like I feel like that is something that would play a role.
For
So
sure.
is that like some like you talked about like how you did public speaking. So is that like one of like did you like do any clubs like based on public speaking and like in school clubs and like did you do anything outside?
So I think the in-school clubs that I did do, so for me as a freshman, I was like, again, I didn't know what I was doing. So my brain was like, I should do as many things as possible. And so I was in like five different clubs. I was in Model UN, I was in FBLA, I was in JSA, like Junior State of America, which are all like very public speaking type
Yeah.
of clubs. And what I didn't realize is like I was spreading myself so thin because I was doing all of these different things that in the end are like more or less the same thing. But like that was me as a freshman. I realized that I liked like something like FBLA, and so that's why I like pursued that a little bit longer compared to the other ones. So I think if you are like a freshman, you're just starting out with clubs, like try to don't spread yourself thin. Like five clubs is like way too much, but I think like try to see what you're interested in, but dabble in different clubs. So like if you want to like an art club and a writing club and like a business club or like you know what I mean, like do a
Mhm.
math club or a robotics club, but don't do like four different robotics and engineering like related clubs. Like try out a bunch of different fields. And then what you'll find is automatically like the community that you resonate with, like the club community that you resonate with, and like whatever projects you're working on, those will be the ones that you'll automatically carry forward. And I think what colleges look for is like your like depth of time in all of those clubs. So I didn't even put all of those freshman year clubs on my application. FBLA was nowhere on my application because I didn't feel nearly as passionately about it as I did about some of my out of school extracurriculars.
Okay.
Some people are the opposite. Like one of my friends did DECA. Like it's like a another like business club. She did that all 4 years. She became her school's like club chapter president. She became the president for an entire state of
Wow.
Texas. And she's in my program now and she's amazing. And so she was very dedicated to like an in-school extracurricular activity. Whereas for me and a lot of the other kids in my program, we had like side hustles. We had small businesses of our own outside of high school, or we did internships, or we founded nonprofits. And those were things that we poured more time and investment to, and we didn't highlight clubs in our application. So I think maybe as a freshman and sophomore, like you start off by going to clubs because those are the most easy access to you. And then using those experiences, you'll be able to kind of find opportunities to enhance your extracurriculars outside of school. And, you know, whichever route you go, it just depends on like what's right for you, what you're passionate about, because ultimately it's that passion that matters, whether that's like an in-school thing or an out-of-school thing.
Yeah. So what did you do like out of school? Because like it clearly
hmm
like, you focus more on that, right? Like out.
hmm So for me, I switched high schools, which is like a big reason why I think I wasn't super into the in-school stuff, just because I was navigating a new school during the pandemic virtually, and so I wasn't like really engaging in like the opportunities that were provided to me by my school because I wasn't aware of a lot of the stuff. So some of the things that I did was like I did a lot of like online tutoring. I like taught public speaking virtually. I was like a virtual assistant, like a Hindi school, because I was interested in learning languages. That's where that global component came into my interest of like global management. And I had my own like nonprofit business that I'm looking to actually scale now in college. So that's something that I had as an extracurricular in high school that I'm looking to pull into my college years and develop even more, which is obviously really important. What else did I do? I did like some diplomacy, like summer programs, that like I applied to, got selected for. I did an internship. I did two internships actually. I interned at an art museum, which is again super different from business, but I loved that job so much. And it's something that I highlighted a lot in my application. What really shone through for that was that global component of like learning about Asian cultures because I worked at an Asian art museum. And so I was able to highlight like kind of a cultural fluency and diversity that I think my program really liked. And aside from that, I did like a marketing, PR, digital marketing internship with a like private B2B SaaS company. So that was more of where I developed technical skills. I was able to put hardcore like campaign experience on my resume. So I had like a very like was able to build a balance between like artistic interests and like cultural, historical interests, which are like more of the humanities, creative things that I'm interested in, as well as like technical, like marketing skills, like Canva, Adobe, like, and I was able to have experiences like those to highlight on my resume. So all of those things I did outside of school.
Yeah. And like, did you like when you were like choosing like you chose to do that like the museum internship, was that did you know like it would connect to you wanting to do like global management, or was it just like, oh, this is something I'm interested in and I really want to learn more?
That was literally just something I was interested in. I was like fascinated. I was like, okay, I get to work at a museum in SF. I'm getting paid for this job. I get to like, I loved art like throughout my life. So I got to like implement that while taking on like actual like paid work experience, which is a big thing for me. I loved my boss like right away, like at my interview. So I'm super, super close with her. Like we're super tight. We grab coffee and stuff. Even now, like even though I'm done with the internship and whatnot, she's not my boss anymore. So like it was like all of those things that really drew me to the thing. And then what I found that like in my senior year when I was navigating like kind of the college application process my summer before senior year and into obviously first semester, when you're writing out those applications, you take moments to reflect on like, okay, what are all of the different things that I did and like how can I consolidate this into a theme? And while you're looking at what programs you want to apply to, you're not only thinking about programs that you're interested in, but also programs that you think would be interested in you. And so just what ended up happening for me was like I applied to a lot of programs that included study abroad experiences. Oh, I don't think I mentioned that so far, but I was studying abroad in London last semester as a requirement of my program. So that was an amazing, amazing experience. I can talk to that more if you want. But yeah, like I applied to a lot of programs that had integrated study abroad experiences because I realized that like that global component was something that mattered to me. Um, and I applied to a lot of like international business degrees or like dual degree programs that were like business and international studies. And so that came together really only after I reflected on it, kind of like that summer before, and I was looking at colleges, looking at programs, and then thinking back to like all the different things that I did and like
Yeah.
painting a picture that like connected everything. Does that make sense?
That makes sense because I feel like there's like this like everyone thinks that like when you're a junior in high school like you should know what you want to major in, like you're like I just feel like that's so hard to do, and like now it kind of makes sense that you reflected on that and were able to
Hmm.
was able to figure that out, so that's really like good. So like when you were doing these like summer programs, like do you think do you think they were all worth it, or was it some like there's something you wish you did more of that could have helped?
Mm, I do think, I mean, probably not in high school. I did really enjoy everything that I did in high school for the most part, at least sophomore year onwards. Again, I think a lot of the things that I was dabbling in as a freshman was, again, not things that I highlighted in my college application, but it was good for like the process of navigating what I was interested in. But in the end, was it like the most useful thing in the world? No. Um, but again, like I think it's still important to navigate different things so that you know what you don't like. For example, like earlier in middle school and stuff, I tried like a bunch of coding things. I tried certain sports that I just never felt too passionately about. And so it were like they were things that I ended up dropping. But that in itself, even though like, okay, whatever, you spent time on that activity, it's useful because knowing what you don't want is just as beneficial as knowing what you do want.
Yeah. So like obviously like Berkeley is like a really big accomplishment in itself. Like that's like amazing. So congrats. Um, so like was it the program that made you apply there? Because I know you talked about how like you liked like the global aspect. So is that something like you looked at? Because obviously you were looking at like the business schools.
Mhm. I mean, there's like a bunch of factors that matter. I think the first thing that everyone obviously thinks of is like prestige. And, like I'm not going to say that's not like a factor in my decision. I think you're being hypocritical if you're like not. But obviously, it should not be like the end all be all. I know a lot of kids who would think about like going into CS or engineering or like arts even and just go to like the US News report of like top 10 colleges and like apply to all of those. But there are a lot more things that matter. Like, for example, how far are you from home? Like, I'm speaking from home right now. I come home every 2 weeks, and I didn't think that I would want to be home this much. But after I spent like 4 months in London, like coming home really is a treat and having a nice meal and seeing your parents is a treat. So you want to be thinking about like qualitative factors like that. You want to be thinking about the application itself, I think is like a really big thing. Stanford is like a really good school that's in the area that I'm in, but it wasn't something that was practical for me to apply to, just given like how long the application was, the types of essays that they had. I remember U Chicago is also like a very good, like very prestigious school, but the kind of questions that they were asking on their application weren't like questions that I resonated with and were like ultimately it ended up being a college that I didn't apply to. So you want to be looking at like the difficulty of like the application itself or like what's your timeline like how much time can you really be sacrificing during your senior year so that ought to spend on your college applications because you want to make sure obviously that your academics are still intact, your social life is still intact. You want to think about all of those things, right? So it's not just like a matter of like the program or like the academics itself. I think that tends to overshine in a lot of people's minds or like the prestige of the institution. Um, but at the same time, you do want to be looking at what's right for you. And so you want to be thinking like, oh, do I want to go to a small liberal arts college or do I want to go to a public institution like Berkeley that has 40,000 kids on campus? Do I want to be going to an undergrad only school or a school that has like undergrad and masters? Um, you want to be thinking about like what are the placements of this like school like beyond like prestige because like sometimes a school might not have a big name, but their placements in whatever industry you're targeting, whether that's like the fashion industry or like the auto manufacturing industry, could be really, really good. So I think like obviously you do have to take time to like research a program, research an institution, and it's a time-consuming process, but it's going to be worthwhile in the end because you don't want to end up unhappy and then having to go through the nightmare process of like transferring or something like that.
I kind of get that. And I feel like that's like something that I've also been like discovering this year since like I feel like one thing that I've started doing this year is like college tours. So like that's one of the questions that has been on my mind. Like, do I want like a big campus, like a smaller campus, less people, like a public school versus private school? So like did you,
Mhm.
I mean, you obviously live closer to Berkeley anyways, but did you like do a college tour there before or did you do like take account and do any college tours anywhere else that you were considering?
I think my experience with college tours was just impacted by the pandemic. So it wasn't like, even if I really wanted to go on a lot of them, I wasn't able to. But um, so I did like see Berkeley just as a like for funsies. Like I had been on campus before, and things like that, but I definitely didn't tour every college that I applied to. I don't think I toured anything actually, but that's just like I don't recommend that. I do recommend like going on tours if you have the budget and the time for it because I mean, if you're applying across the country, obviously that means like flying, that like it's not always up to you, it can be up to your parents as well. What I did was after I got into a school, I would go see the school in between the time that I had to accept or like decide and commit to a college. So I did go see UT Austin. Um, I would have gone and seen my other schools, but when I got into Berkeley, I had already been to this school and I had like it was in my top three choices, so it was kind of a no-brainer for me. But I do recommend, like kind of seeing what works for you in that sense. Like you can go beforehand, but don't waste all of your money and time like flying out to every single school, especially if you're going to be applying to like 15, 20 schools. It's like not practical to visit all of them.
Yeah. And like, what do you think is like what should you be trying to get out of these college tours? Like, what's the main purpose, or what do you think is the main purpose?
I think, I mean, some things matter to you that aren't going to matter to your parents, and that's good, what you're going to realize on college tours. Like things like how pretty is the campus? Like you want to like wake up and like be excited to walk to class because like you're gonna have 8 a.m.s, you're gonna have 9 a.m.s, you're not gonna want to go to them. But like if you have like a pretty little walk and like a cute little cafe to stop by, like you know what I mean? Like you're gonna think those things don't matter, but like when it comes down to it, there's a lot of similar programs in the country. There's other programs that are similar to mine. And things like how pretty the campus is, how nice the walk is, how nice the weather is, like how nice the dorms are, dining hall, like all of those things are like little factors that you're going to discover only when you actually visit the campus, I think. For example, I went to Texas and I hated it because it was broiling and it was like April. And so I was like very nervous about potentially committing to that school because I simply like could not deal with it for the weather. And like people are like, oh, like you shouldn't like base your college decision off of like those things. But like you're in the end, you're gonna live there for 4 years. Like it matters, right? So just look at like things like that. Things like that are gonna matter in the end. So don't overlook small things, I'd say, when you go on tours.
Yeah,
Like lifestyle things, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
that makes sense because I feel like that's something like people don't think about. They only think about like, oh, like the acceptance rate or like the prestige of the school, but
Yeah.
like the like smaller things also definitely do matter, right? Yeah. So what's like one piece of advice you would give to yourself, like yourself in like junior year, 11th grade, like what would you tell yourself?
I think, I mean, things have a way of working out in the end. I would probably tell myself to chill out. I'm not saying like drop my activities or like drop my things, but like maintaining like a healthy lifestyle and just like reminding myself to balance academics and social like as much as you can. Like junior year, like don't drop everything for academics or for like college research purposes because you're still going to be wanting to make friendships and make relationships that are going to last you into college. Obviously, I'm coming home like right now for 24 hours just to see my friends because we're all back for the long weekend. And like these are like friends that I've had since high school and like friends that I made like junior year, whatever. And so don't like sacrifice anything for those things. Those things are gonna matter just as much. And I don't know, just like like take a chill pill sometimes. Like obviously focus on academics, but don't let it like consume you entirely. And also, one thing is like don't be afraid to reach out to older kids. Like they also like have been in the same place as you and they know what you're going through exactly. So like utilize your network, make a LinkedIn, like reach out to people, like coffee chat people, Zoom call people that you know like because they're going to be the ones that are like going to help you really. And so like utilize human resources as well in addition to like academic resources.
Okay, yeah, no, that's really helpful. Okay, it was really nice talking to you.
Mm-hmm. It was so nice talking to you too. Thank you for having me.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation I had with Preisha and gained a better understanding of this major and what it requires. Please share this with anyone you think would benefit from hearing this and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you for listening.